this doesn't work for you, that's okay. There will be further opportunities. We kick it off with an opening retreat kickoff. We have 5 seminar days. A major part of this program is our civic action projects. I'm going to put a pin in this one. We're going to come back to it. I'm going to tell you all about it. And then at the end, we hold a yearly graduation for all of our focus programs once a year in May. We call it our Focus Now graduation. So what we're looking to do with this program is we want you to come out with an increased sense of engagement in the region. No matter where you start, you're going to learn a significant amount about St. Louis, the systems, the people of the region. You're going to also leave with a stronger understanding of your core values, what it is that's really important to you and informs both the work you do professionally as well as civically. And then a toolbox, so different things you can take to work, whether it's listening skills, feedback skills, facilitation skills, so that you can take an active role as the next generation of leaders. Some of our immersive training includes these interactive seminar days, as well as our civic action project. So what to expect? Went over these just in general, but we have our opening kickoff. Our seminar days look like a mix between half day and full day sessions, and they really change it up depending on what it looks like. Our civic action project, Focus Now, I mentioned, you also get a complimentary Focus membership during your time in the program. We switch it up every single time based on what the cohort needs. But as a general overview, we go over leadership styles and your personal leadership values. A lot of pieces on communication and presentation skills, giving and receiving feedback, networking, building a culture of belonging, an overview of St. Louis region and key issues, civic-minded leadership and ways to get involved. And a lot at the heart of it is finding the why as a leader, figuring out what it is that you value and you want to center yourself upon. I mentioned our civic action projects. They are a really exciting facet of our Emerging Leaders program. We partner with various nonprofit organizations that come to us with a challenge. They have something that they would like to work on, and it could look there's such a wide range of projects. Sometimes it's things like creating a volunteer onboarding. Sometimes it's saying, we know in the next 15 years, we are going to be facing a shift in who's going to be using our services. How do we get ahead of that and market it? We've had people who they've gone out and they'd interviewed folks who live upon a certain street to see if what they want in terms of commerce and other things on that specific street. So it looks very different depending on the project, but this gives participants the opportunity to work directly with a community partner to address a real challenge facing our region. It'll allow you to develop your leadership skills while implementing best practices. You're going to be working alongside of a group of both your peers as well as the civic leaders at that organization. And this is a really cool process. Some of our previous civic action projects champions include, here's just a huge list of nonprofits. We have about 7 or 8 each program cohort, so lots of different nonprofits. It's a really powerful piece, and it's one of my favorite pieces to the Emerging Leaders program. We have a civic project presentation day where everyone from the community, all these organizations are invited to attend. They often bring board members, they often bring a couple of staff members, and our emerging leaders present their final projects. These projects are meant to be evergreen, so the idea is that it is not just something they create, but something that can be used by anyone who walks into the situation, whether they worked directly with the emerging leaders or not. We never guarantee this, but it is a really cool side effect. Oftentimes, once our emerging leaders get involved with an organization, they've gone on to be both board members, volunteers, and we've even had folks who go on to work for those organizations. So very cool. An overview of our 2026 program schedule. Please note our application deadline is Monday, November 24th. If there's any challenges around that deadline, reach out to me so I know. And here's just our overview, kicking off on Thursday, February 19th and wrapping up on Tuesday, May 5th. Our typical program days will be Tuesday, alternating between that 9 to 4 and 1 to 5, but our opening retreat, our opening kickoff is a Thursday and Friday. What you get out of being part of this program, I think we've gone through a lot of these pieces. One of the things I did not mention is the deep and lasting relationships with a diverse network of peers. You're going to be going into a class with about 30 other emerging leaders. And one of the major parts of it that you're going to come out with is these very deep relationships with these fantastic people. As much as the classroom, the experiential, the civic action project is wonderful, that network of learning about what other people do, as well as a support system, is huge. I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to our emerging leaders panel. I can brag all day about them, but I would like you to hear directly from them. So to kick it off, we have Daniel Arias and Shilpi Yadov. They went through the spring 2025 cohort. So I'm going to open it up to y'all. Can you give a quick introduction about who you are professionally and civically to kick it off? Let's start with Daniel.
Sure, thanks. I'm Daniel Arias. Thanks, Beth. I am an urban planner who focuses on public transit and streets planning. I've moved to St. Louis in 2020, so import to the region, and I had gotten a lot of background and sort of exposure to what's being done in terms of urban mobility in the region. But part of why I wanted to join Emerging Leaders was to get a bit of broader exposure there. So I was really glad to do that. Yep. How about you, Shilpi?
Thank you, Daniel. Hi, everyone. So my name is Shilpi. I was born in India, and I spent most of my life in India. So I did my grad school, undergrad there, and then moved here to the US. It's been 10 years. And currently I'm working with a nonprofit called Concordance. And we focus on reducing the rate of reincarceration in St. Louis region. That's our main focus. It's a wraparound program. We cover mental health services, employment, education. And I've been doing this for about 2.5 years now, a little over 2.5 years. And I just transitioned into a different role. So I'm an engagement and philanthropy associate manager, working with the donors and figuring out not just fundraising, but also how to communicate what we're doing out in the world. Storytelling is very important. Yes, that's me.
Awesome. Thank you, Shilpi. I'll kick the next question first to you. So what was your favorite part of Emerging Leaders?
But is it for me?
Yeah, that's for you.
Okay, perfect. Oh my gosh, that's a tough question because there are so many. There were so many moments. First part I would say is the camaraderie between all 31 of our group members. Everyone was from different area. Some people were from design, finance, social work. I would say most of our group was dominated by most social services and social work. And I remember having this moment specifically on the day when we were discussing diversity and inclusion. And the weight in the room when the day started, and then towards the end, and the way we all came together and spoke about how difficult that conversation was and how inspiring it was. And that was my favorite part, to be able to, after every single seminar, to be able to talk to each other and be vulnerable, honest, and raw about the discussions we've had. handpicked. I would say this is one of the best groups that I've ever worked with, and still in touch with a lot of them.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Shilpi. Daniel, I'd love to hear from you as well.
Shilpi took, the best one is the people that you go through the program with. Really, really impressive people, and learned a lot from them. And there's so much that I could go on to say about that. But in the spirit of picking something new, I think one thing that I really loved was getting to hear from leaders in different sectors and peers in different sectors to get a much better lay of the land in terms of what's being done, where is the energy in this region, and starting to really get ideas from the speakers and from my own peers in discussion with them about how these different industry areas or different areas of community effort can interact, and start to get ideas on how to make progress in the region when you kind of like leave your industry silo and start to learn about what other people are doing. And that was a really, really energizing and motivating kind of thing to take away. And it frankly changes how I think about what I do now. So I was really glad to get that exposure.
Thank you. Y'all, I've just given Shilpi and Daniel the questions. I don't ask them ahead of time. So I love this because I get to hear like those answers as well. That's beautiful, both of y'all. Thank you. Last question is, I would like to hear, what have you done differently because of emerging leaders? Daniel, you want to go first? Sorry, just doing two answers at once.
Sure, no problem. Yeah, I think the biggest difference is that, it was a takeaway from my CAP project. It was a takeaway from some of the later discussions in the program was that, I'm sort of, I'm not perfect. I don't know everything, but I am needed out there in the community, and my leadership is needed. And so the sort of concept of like starting to grow out of the emerging like modifier and really get into leadership. And one way that I'm doing that now is looking at nonprofit board leadership, which is something that I really hadn't considered doing before. And so both being so impressed with who I was working with, but also gaining that confidence to say, okay, I don't know everything, but I'm needed and I'm ready, is a big change in mindset.
Thank you so much, Daniel. Shilpi.
Thank you, Daniel. Thanks. I actually would like to answer this question in about 3 to 4 parts because there's so much I want to share with you guys. So I became a better listener for sure. And I have been a decent/good listener all through my life, but I definitely felt the difference after I graduated. To just be in the moment and listen to your peers, your friends, your family. It was more than just realizing in how to be a better listener in workplace, but just overall. The second thing is I was worked for my CAP project, which was the main civic action project. I was working with an interior designer, someone from finance, some people who were from social work and different sectors. So we were working on a toolkit that we wanted to give to the nonprofit. It's called Webster Art. It's a small nonprofit. They have a gallery, Webster Groves. So our toolkit was to basically give them all these ideas for better engagement and better engagement. That was mainly it. So working on that project with people from different sectors helped me understand how different minds work. And I've worked in social work and social services throughout my life, like 10 years and over. So it was nice and it was enlightening. And the third part is I'm constantly looking to be engaged with the community. I always was, but now I am, again, similar to Daniel, trying to find an organization I can volunteer for. I volunteer for Webster Art, but looking to be a board member, things of that sort, to have a little bit more exposure and take on some leadership roles. Now it's time.
Both of y'all, those are wonderful answers. Thank you so much for sharing your experience. Before we go on to opening it up for questions for me, I'd like to see, does anyone have any questions for Shilpi or Daniel? I always like to leave an extra long pause to make sure everyone has the chance to ask questions.
Oh, I'm sorry, I do. I'm
Yeah.
driving.
Oh, wonderful. Good. Let's hear from you.
Okay, so what challenges did you face, if any, throughout the program, and then how do you feel they contributed to your leadership journey?
I can start if that's okay. It's a bit of a challenge to actually juggle the program with work. You have to, carve some time and make sure that you're available when you need to be doing both. Beth does a really good job of setting expectations for you, and you know what's coming up, and when you're going to be scheduled to like enter these sessions, that sort of thing. But I thought it was useful in a lot of ways because, as you grow as a leader, you will have those sort of like competing obligations. And so getting a flavor for that and being like, okay, well, if I'm, on a nonprofit board or something like that, in addition to my full-time job, this would be something that I would have to manage on my own. So knowing that that was okay and that my employer supported it, and being able to actually do it successfully. Beth, tell me if I did not do it successfully, but I think it went all right. That was a learning experience for me.
Shilpi, did you have anything to add?
Yes, yeah, I was about to. So I'll go back to what I mentioned before. For the CAP project, working with people who were from completely different sector really helped me because uh, when you're working in just one field and it's more of giving back to the society, and again, I'm sure all of the jobs are important and everyone's in some way giving back to the society, but when you come from this sector and working with someone, for example, from finance, and understanding how they look at a problem, a conflict, and how they solve that situation, definitely added to my skill set. And so yes, that's what I would like to add. That was a challenge, but also it helped me to learn more.
Thank you, Shilpi. Septisha, any additional questions? Oh, Daniel, looks like you had something to add.
Yeah, feel free to jump in, Satisha. I just wanted to add on to the CAP point that you made, Shilpi. I thought it was really cool to it was a highlight for me. I was really intimidated by it, and it turned out to be really great. And we talked about how it was, one of the first times that we were doing a group project, but everybody on the team was that person who usually like does all the work on the group project.
Oh my gosh, I remember that.
That was actually really nice and refreshing, and learning different ways of working from different people was great.
Yes, it was a great experience because everyone was a leader in the group. It made it so much more interactive. And we also liked each other a lot. We all loved each other a lot. Like, it was just so much time we spent together. You build such bonds. But guys, we still hang out. We try our cohort. We try to meet once a month and say hello to each other.
So thank you. Anyone else on this call have any questions for Shilpi or Daniel? Well, great. I can actually, a couple more slides of information. Tuition and scholarships. Tuition is $1,000. Tuition is often covered in part or by full by the participant's employer. If you have financial need, we do have partial scholarships available. And here's our list of different organizations that support. And we're at the end. Please feel free to ask me any questions. Drop your questions in the chat. Let's see. And Aaron, it looks like all our stuff in the chat is from Aaron supporting. Anyone have any questions for us?
I do.
Yeah.
And thank y'all for answering my question. It's really good to hear like that y'all had a positive experience and still connect with y'all people from y'all cohort. My question is, so you spoke about the civic engagement aspect of the program. How are those relationships facilitated? Is it by the leaders in the program or you all?
I think it depends. So Shilpi and Daniel, do you want to tackle this before I pull out my frame of what I think?
So can you please repeat the question? Your voice was kind of breaking.
You all spoke about the civic engagement aspect of the program. So who facilitates those relationships or initiates those?
So we, as a group, were introduced to the organization. So what Beth did was she at first shared the organizations we were going to work with, and then eventually we were matched with these nonprofits during the seminar and then met with our nonprofit. So my group had about 6 people, and then there were 2 leadership board members from Webster Arts, the nonprofit. They came in, we sat together on one table. They talked about the organization, we asked questions. And then from there, we kind of, as a group, took over. We had one person of contact from our group of 6. And that's how we were communicating with the nonprofit. So it was kind of kickstarted by Beth and Focus, and then we took over from there. And
yeah, and I would say civic engagement looks a little different. It has a couple different points of contact throughout the Emerging Leaders program. There's definitely civic engagement in the Civic Action Project, as Shilpi was talking about. We typically have a couple different panels where you learn from local experts. And so while that is not necessarily a lot of time to talk one-on-one, if it's something you're interested in, most of our panelists are open to connecting outside of that. Finally, and Shilpi and Daniel, y'all missed this, but we piloted this round. We are connecting our emerging leaders to people who've recently graduated from Women in Leadership or Leadership St. Louis, with the idea that leadership is not just a one-way mentorship program, but by creating these cross-sectional, almost personal board of directors, where you have someone who the learning can go either way. So when we say civic engagement, there's not just one way we look at it. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Awesome.
There are a few questions that have been dropped in the chat.
Oh, fantastic. You mind sharing those out loud real quick?
Yeah, the first question is from Christopher Michael. He asks, are applications reviewed on a rolling basis or after the deadline on November 8th?
Applications are reviewed all at the same time. It is a group of emerging leaders who reads over them and scores them based on a rubric.
Second question is from Barrett Wagner. He says he does a lot of volunteer work, but not necessarily with civic organizations.
Mm-hmm.
In the applications, are they allowed to share work that they do with organizations that aren't explicitly civic, for example, education institutions?
Yes, and so the question was, when applying, if you don't necessarily volunteer with civic organizations, should you include the other volunteer experience? Absolutely. And as we're reading the applications, one of the things that we note, it is not necessarily about how much experience you have, although we do look at it, it is what you're looking to do. So if you come into with the application of saying, you know, I have been unable to jump in, but I'm really interested in volunteering around education. That's something that we take into consideration, that you're looking towards your growth and not necessarily where you are now. Okay, another question?
Yep.
Aaron's reading them to me, so I'll try to repeat them. Yes, Aaron.
Genevieve Trow asked, what is the timeline after the application is submitted? And does the application require any letters of recommendation?
So question about the time frame. Let me see if I have anything on here. It doesn't look like we do. So I know our application is on November 24th, Genevieve. We do not require any letters of support or letters of recommendation. I want to say, do you happen to have those dates up for our application
For selection.
for selection?
I know it's in December. Give me one moment while I find it.
Aaron is pulling them up. We can also drop them into the chat before we leave so that you have a paper copy of it. I believe if I'm going off the top of my head, I believe that you will be notified in the beginning of December, and about mid-December you have to get your participant agreements in and kind of all that final confirmation that you'll be participating.
Friday, December 5th is when anyone who applies to EL will be notified of a decision.
So notification is on Friday, November 5th. And like I said, all this information is online. I'm more than happy to follow up. And from after this email, you also, or excuse me, after this info session, you'll get an email follow-up with those dates.
Hi.
Erin, any additional? Oh, yes.
Yes, I have a question. So for
Yeah.
our employer, do you all provide like a letter of explaining the program, especially like if our employer are not familiar with Focus St. Louis? Do you all have that?
Yes, I believe if you look online under our Emerging Leaders program, we actually have a piece written exactly for that under more information that you can download and use it for explaining what it is and why they should support it.
Thank you.
Of course.
Hello, this is Dalton. Can you hear me?
Yes, Dalton, thank you.
The presentation you guys went over today, will that be sent out in an email afterwards? I know it has like all the dates and the specifics of the course, everything, so we can share that with our employer for cost, timeline, all of that type of stuff.
I will see. I'm not sure if we typically share the PowerPoint itself. I know that our marketing person follows up with a significant amount of information, so I will just double check that's all in here. The recording of this is also going to be available. So we'll make sure you have the information. It might not be the PowerPoint itself, but it should be in friendly documents that are good for sharing.
Awesome, thank you. And
Of
second
course.
question, so you guys talked about the sessions, and then you get grouped up and then they parse you out to a nonprofit. If we're already working with nonprofits, do you guys take suggestions at that point for, I think XYZ nonprofit would be good, or is there already a running list of places that you guys are kind of committed to do work with already?
So there's an application process. So if you would like to, it's a two-step application process. There is a interest form that you or whoever is affiliated with a nonprofit can fill out. And from there, I usually do a phone call to make sure that the nonprofit has a good sense of what can be accomplished and what can't in about, the span of 3 to 4 months with a group of 5 emerging leaders. So we make sure the scope and the plan is set, and then the organization will then apply. And so from there, we make a selection of organizations. I try to get both a wide range in terms of their mission as well as their organization. So sometimes I will have to go back to an organization and say, we have 2 other people that are working, another organization that are founding a young friends group. Do you mind waiting till next session? So it's ongoing programs. If you're interested, all of our information is online, but by the time we start with emerging leaders, it is too late to to add another project.
Awesome, thank you.
Of course. Some really great questions here. Oh, look, I have this all. I didn't know I had another slide. I apologize for this. Important dates. Application deadline, as we mentioned, selection day is on the 2nd and notification is on the 5th. I was going to guess the 14th, but the 12th is our program agreement deadline. And that's all I have for y'all. Any questions, anything else? I'm going to stay on the call for about a couple more minutes. You're welcome to stay and ask questions. If not, thank you all. Thank you so much for coming. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions or need further information.